Hi everyone, today I'll be talking about the controversial CJI 2 results and try to sort of resolve the contradiction and explain why the B team won. I will be referring to the rules on the website, and you can see on the screen that I've put a screenshot. I will be referring to them as point 1, 2, and 3 throughout this video, so please familiarize yourself with the rules if you wish to engage with this video meaningfully. So I think there is an issue with rule interpretation in which they are confusing and poorly designed. There seem to be contradictory win conditions, which has sparked a lot of confusion. And there is also the issue of sequentiality. In what order are the rule points applied? Specifically, does point 1, individual wins, overrule point 3, total points? Okay, firstly, we need to examine the Atos versus Misfits Europe match, in which 5 double eliminations occurred, and see what we can draw from there. The final scorecards were 49-46 in favor of Atos, okay? So when the results were announced by scorecard, it was not individual wins, but the total score that was read out, which determined the winner.
Our second team duel here in quarterfinal number 2. After 5 double eliminations, all judges score cards for all 5 matches and added to score totals. And here they are. Your first judge, Zach Meslani, 49-46. Your second judge, Justin Flores, 49-46. And your third final judge, Rehab Habits, 49-46. I'll have it by unanimous decision advancing to the semifinal round. Coast Outlaws, Team Atos!
So as you can see, the way in which they made the decision was by the total amount of points at the end of the match, which suggests that point 1 is ignored, or there's some sort of sequential hierarchy where point 3 takes precedence. So by applying the same logic with the B team versus New Wave match, we had 5 double eliminations, so we should go to the judges' scorecards to decide a winner. Unfortunately, it was 47-47, which means it was a tie, and therefore invokes point 2, which explicitly applies to scenarios in which the scorecards are even. I can understand if you think point 2 relates to point 1 rather than point 3, but in my opinion, I'm going to refer it to point 3. So by consistent interpretation, the B team wins. So as we can see by the rules, point 2 says if there's a tie on the scorecards, the team whose athlete won the last bout wins, and that happens to be Nicky Rod. All right, I also would like to explore a hypothetical scenario. We're just going to use Team A versus Team B. Right, in this scenario, there were also 5 double eliminations, and the scorecards were as follows: 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, 7-10, 7-10. And yes, 7-10 scores are allowed under the rule set. If we tally all this up, the score comes to 44-47 in favor of Team B. Now, if we were to follow point 1, should Team A claim victory because they had more individual wins? And if they do so, this creates a contradiction in which the team with more points lost, and you can win the match by having fewer points, which seems counterintuitive for someone who's watched any sort of sports before. So how do we resolve this? If point 1 overrides point 3, yeah, we can have a consistent and logical system, but that devalues the judging criteria and point system overall because of the contradiction that's created. If point 3 overrides point 1, then the rule stays consistent, and in this hypothetical example, Team B would win because we are favoring the total number of points over individual victory. So this is just my opinion. I think that should be the case, but I understand that the rule set and the rules written are not very clear. All right, so what could we do to resolve this? Remove point 1 entirely so it avoids any contradictions, or you can move point 3, but that devalues the scorecards and allows for less points but still winning outcomes. The only consistent path is to, in my opinion, keep the score system as the primary deciding factor with point 2 as the tiebreaker clause. However, this is also incomplete because if we look at another hypothetical scenario, we realize that even if dropping point 1 or 3 entirely, it doesn't account for everything. So in this scenario, we have Team A versus Team B, and again, it's 5 double eliminations with 9-9 scored across the board. So we're going to assume in all 5 matches, they got a point taken away for stalling, and that's how they ended up with 9-9. So if we get 45-45, and then we go to the tiebreaker clause, which is about looking at who won the final bout. But if they were all draws, nobody won the final bout. And following the logic, the win goes to the team whose athlete last won a non-draw bout. But there is none because they were all draws to begin with. So we are unable to follow the rules and come to a meaningful winner. If you want to go by the first point, that also doesn't work because if 5 double eliminations occur, like in our example, the team with more individual wins by judges' decision would win. But there is no team with more individual wins because they are all draws. Therefore, we would have to introduce a new clause about winning by the least penalties, for example, or some other sort of rule that you want to come up with, but I thought that this demonstrates that the rules are written badly, and yeah, there's room for improvement. That's all I have to say. Bye.